Hi guys, this is Monster again. Welcome to my channel, my ELT stuff, and today we're going to be talking about vocabulary again, part 2, because again, we're going to have other parts as well. So, to start off, today we're going to be talking about eliciting, right? So, what is it exactly? You might have heard about it, you might have seen it before, but what is it? So the British Council website says that eliciting, or elicitation if you prefer, is a term which describes a range of techniques which enable the teacher to get learners to provide information rather than giving it to them. In other words, this is the kind of technique that you use so that your students tell you things. So you don't tell your students what they can tell you, but you encourage them through techniques to tell you what they can tell you, right? In other words, don't tell your students what they can tell you. The definition of the term in the Dictionary of Language, Teaching and Applied Linguistics says that techniques, or says that elicitation, they say techniques or procedures which a teacher uses to get learners to actively produce speech or writing. So elicitation is used for a variety of reasons, right? They are used to ask students to come up with vocabulary, with language words, with rules, to brainstorm a topic at the start of a lesson, just to name a few, okay? What are the principles and advantages of eliciting from students, for example? Well, first and foremost, you're going to activate their knowledge, right? The students have a great deal of knowledge of language, knowledge of the real world, and this knowledge needs to be activated and used constructively in the classroom, right? So students, as soon as by the time they step into the classroom, they bring a great deal of knowledge, right? Based on their own experiences, based on their background, right? So we cannot simply ignore this knowledge that they bring in. We need to make use of it, and we need to encourage them and provide them with opportunities to use it actively, right? And number 2, if you're going to teach something new, you need to keep in mind that new knowledge is often based on what students already know, right? So there is no need to teach something if your students already know that. So by eliciting, you're going to be given the chance to check how much your students know, and based on that, you're going to be able to make informed decisions on what to teach, on what you're going to teach actually, and what you're not going to teach based on what they already know, right? So this knowledge, the old knowledge, cannot be simply ignored, because again, the new knowledge is going to be based on what students already know. Number 3, by eliciting, you're going to make their experience in the classroom more memorable. And why is that? Because you're asking questions, and when you're asking questions, you're assisting students in self-discovery, and self-discovery makes information much more memorable, right? Number 4, you're certainly going to develop a student-centered classroom, a student-centered environment, a stimulating environment, and at the same time, you're making learning, again, more memorable, because you're linking new and old information. And again, as a result, it's going to make it much more memorable. Well, again, language, let me just go back now here, sorry. Yeah, it's right here. So what are the tools for eliciting? Well, the first thing that we need to keep in mind is that a language and ideas cannot be elicited without any kind of input from the teacher, right? And so students, they need some sort of input, they need some sort of prompt there in order for them to be stimulated to come up with vocabulary or language structure, for example. So one of these tools that you may use, you have here like visuals on the board, such as pictures, for example. You may bring some sort of realia, which are real objects, for example. You may model the new structure or lattices before presenting that as a target language, for example. You may use a text or a listening activity as a tool for eliciting as well some kind of vocabulary or some grammatical structures, for example, right? Now let's talk a little bit about the steps of elicitation. So there are certain steps that are kind of advisable to follow when eliciting language from students. And as you can see, this is not in order. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to pause the video for like 30 seconds and try to put these things in order, okay? Try to put these steps of elicitation in the right order, okay? 30 seconds, pause the video, please. Well, here's the order of the stages. Well, firstly, you're going to convey the meaning of the new word by defining it or by using a visual, for example. And again, students, you need to make use of a tool in order to convey the meaning. It may be a definition, it may be a picture, realia, right? And once, for example, once you show the picture, number two, you're going to elicit the word. And if the learners do not know it or pronounce it incorrectly, say the word yourself. Now again, it's important here to give students some time to think, some sort of thinking time, right? So as soon as you elicit it, count to 5, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and give them the chance to say it, right? And if they don't, of course, you're not going to be there spending a lot of time waiting until somebody comes up with that. So then that's when you say the word yourself, right? And then you need to concept check the meaning of the new word. You might have heard about CCQs and ICQs, for example, and we use CCQs to check the meaning of that new word, right? So if you're teaching, let's say, doctor, you would ask them, for example, where does he work? Does he work in a school? Does he work at the hospital? So students would then be able to, you would be able to check the meaning of the new word, right? And also your students. And again, we talked about on our first video, part 1, we talked about the importance of covering meaning, form, and pronunciation. So as you can see here, we've already covered meaning, right? But again, number 4, you have to provide a clear oral model of the words. Students, they need to know how to pronounce the words, right? And then again, number 5, you drill the word with the students both currently and individually. And number 6, you write the new word on the board, indicating the word class and marking the stress, because again, it's important for students to know exactly where the stress falls so that they can make themselves understood, right? But why do we do all this kind of things, Monsieur? Do we really have to go through go over all these tabs in order to elicit vocabulary or language from our students? Yes, we do, and I'm going to tell you now the reasons why it is important to follow these steps when eliciting. Well, number 1, we need to convey meaning of the new words by defining it or by using a visual. And this is basically because as we're eliciting, in order for our students to be able to provide the word that you're eliciting from them, the meaning needs to be clearly established. Maybe by using visual, by using a kind of any other kind of tool that you may have at your disposal, right? And the second step is we need to concept check the meaning of the word. Oops, sorry guys, it's a matter of, I think I inverted the order here. Yeah, so right after you Sorry guys, I think I have just inverted a couple of things here. Yeah, so this is the right order. We've just talked about this one, right? We need to make sure that the meaning is clearly established, right? And then, okay, here we go. And then right after that, you need to elicit the word, right? But remember that if you keep eliciting, students do not come up with that. Just say the word yourself, okay? And now, why is it so important to concept check the meaning of the new word? Why do we ask all those CCQs, right? You might have heard about that before, of course. And it's just because our students, they need to feel sure and certain about the meaning of the word before they say it, right? So by asking concept questions, we're certainly going to help them feel more confident and sure about the meaning of the word before saying it, right? And again, we need to provide a clear oral model of the word. And this is just because the students, they need to hear the pronunciation of the word before they can repeat it, right? And remember that by doing that, you're covering pronunciation. It's important to tell the students where the stress of the word falls, right? Too. And why do we drill the word with the students both orally and individually? Because of course it is, guys, a good idea for students to say the word before they see it written down, especially when the spelling of the word is at odds with its pronunciation, for example. So when you start writing on the board, you might have seen this before. You say a certain word, and they ask you how to say a certain thing. Teacher, how do I say this or that? And before telling them how to say that, you kind of write it up. You write it on the board, or while you're writing, you just pronounce the word. What happens? Students, they get their pencils or their pens and they start writing it down, and they pay very little attention to the way the word's pronounced. So in order for them not to get distracted when you're pronouncing the words, when you're telling them how to pronounce the words and things like that, make sure you're not writing on the board at the same time, so that students don't get distracted by the spelling of the word and they can focus on on the pronunciation of the word, right? And then finally you have to write the new word on the board, indicating the word class and marking the stress. So let's say you're teaching, for example, communicative, right? So what is it? Communicative activity. Communicative is an adjective, and where is the stress? Where does it fall? And then you pointed out that this is on the second syllable, for example. So it's important to write it down, indicate the word class, whether it's a noun, verb, an adjective, an adverb, and marking the stress. Keep these things in mind while during the process of elicitation. All right? Well, just to wrap it up, in order for you to convey meaning, a couple of tips. You can use pictures, miming, demonstrating, using realia, explaining, giving the definition, synonyms, and antonyms as well, right? Well, I guess that's it for today, guys. I hope it helps you during your Celta course, your Delta course, your CELP, or CELS. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Bye.